Hello everybody, this is Tom of All Trades coming to you with a long overdue video production. What I'd like to talk to, I've been doing some work on flashing the windows, and today I'm going to talk about how I did the windows on a silo house, how I flashed them out with the exterior flashing, and then also how I flashed them out interiorly. So hang with me on this video. There's going to be some brake work, and I'm just going to go through the theory about how I did the windows. Catch you on the next one. Okay, so up here on the windows, there's a couple ways to do it. Your options are either to have the window inside the radius of the silo or outside. So what I have is I used pressure treated, or selected to. It's bucked out about 1.5 inches. So these bucks provide the frame for the nailing flange of the window, and then it's sealed in place using a sealant. What we're going to do next is we're going to use a product called Huber Zip System stretch tape, and we're going to make a flexible seal all around the perimeter of the window. We're going to start at the bottom, do the sides, end at the top last. This, I think, will allow for expansion and contraction of the silo, which I can foresee being a prevalent concern. Okay, now what I'm doing is applying the stretch tape. And what I did is I bought it in 6-inch width, so it'll and then for the bottom I rip it to about 4 inches. Seems to be giving me a good overlap. So you apply it, stretch it, and you want enough stretch to go in these corners. And the nice thing about this stuff is that it fits right into these creases, or the corrugations of the building. So you stretch that in. It's got to be rolled out, and a roller is not convenient. So I'll show you what I do. So I'm going to do this all the way around. Maybe actually I'll show you the roller on the side, the tool that I made to do this. But that gives airtight. This is different than a house because there's no real sealing it from the, because it's going to go right behind the wall. So it's a little bit different than a conventional application. So that's the bottom, and then we're just going to go up and do the top last, shingling it as we go. So here's the special tool. It's just a cut off piece of wood. I found it best to shape it like a wedge, but notice it has this rounded profile and then this rounded profile. What that allows you to do is get in here in the corrugations and roll it out. So you can do, you have to really roll this stuff to get a good adhesion, or at least I think you do. So it's nice to kind of press it in there, give it like a rolling on the straightaway. Because when you're rolling this stuff on a conventional house build, it gets rolled with great force. So this tool allows you to get a really good glue up or good adhesion in the corrugations. On the sides, you'll notice this piece. Oh no, it doesn't make it. With this stuff, it's so sticky. If it sticks to itself, you're screwed. And so I do manageable pieces that I can work with on the side, and then I just overlap it. I'm going to go about 1.25 inches past this joint. I've ripped these strips to about 3 inches. So you want a manageable piece, especially in our environment. It's very windy. Like, I try to throw that stuff away and so it doesn't blow all over the job site. But what I'm gonna do, I got my windows bucked out. I'm gonna give it an overlap here at the bottom. I just kind of know where it's gonna be. And I'm gonna just, for right now, kind of tack it down. And then I'm gonna stretch it so it's got good overlap. Then I'm gonna, on these high spots, I'm gonna stretch it out a little bit to hit the high spots. Then work it in the low spots, kind of stretching it. Just get it stuck at first. I try to end it so it's about halfway, so it's even better shingling. Come back with my tool, give it a good. This part you could use a roller because it's flat. And just kind of work it into each corrugation. And I'm pressing against the side of the buck as well. And it's nice, you can see how the silo, there's a bit of flex to it, which is why I chose this system. I think it's going to work out really well. We've had a lot of rain and precipitation and none of the windows have leaked, so that's good. It's also going to get spray foamed on the interior, and you'll see this is pretty redundant. It should work out really well. So this is a tip for using the brake. The material comes in coil stock like this. This is 10-inch coil stock and it's 6-inch. I don't have, like, there's an attachment that you can use for doling out coil stock and cutting it. I don't have that. So working alone, I have the coil stock wrapped in the container it came in, and then if I want to measure it and cut it to length, what I do is, in this case, I want a 40.5-inch piece. My cutter that rolls on this track is 1.5 inches away from the lip of the brake. So what I do, so I'm gonna have to measure out a 40.5 plus 1.5 inches, so that's a 42-inch piece. So I just take a little tension off the brake, I walk out 40 inches, put the tape on the lip, and I want 40.5 plus 1.5 inches, so that's about 42 inches. Easy peasy. Okay, now what we're going to do is for the sides. I've already pre-bent the piece on the brake, but the most important thing is we got it flashed with our flexible membrane. We put a good layer of caulk on. The caulk is just like a secondary measure because the window is really flashed. But the caulk, in the high wind conditions that we have here, it helps it stick better. So what I do is I tuck this inner bottom flange. I try not to get caulk all over myself. But this And I leave it a little bit long at the top because you can trim it. So what this will do is act as a gasket to prevent nesting behind the flashing. When we go to put it on, just pressing it in place to keep it like adhered while I put this piece on. Then I'll grab the next piece real quick and we'll be back and throw that on. So what I'm doing now is stuffing this neoprene gasketing material in there, and then that'll get covered with the side flashing. It takes longer. I think the pieces are 3 feet. I just use a little bit of scrap tape to tape them together, so that it's usually hard because it's very windy here, but you know, that's kind of what it looks like. That'll all get pushed over as I'm doing the next step, which is installing the side panel. Okay, so now we're ready to put this piece on there. And what I want to do is get this fold to interact well. Oh, I got caulk on my fingers. I like to pre-drill it. It just seems to work better. Okay. And now what I'm going to do, I got that put in place. You can see I'm going to screw it up the buck of the window where the nailing flange is, and then I'm going to screw at certain intervals. After I have it up against the window, I'm going to screw this down. And as you can see, you can't see behind there and see the little gasket, but this way it's an extra added feature against air and water basically getting in there. Plus it prevents nesting. There's not really a lot of space for insects to build like a little wasp nest. Well, I can imagine wasps would love to build a nest here. This is what an installed side panel looks like. We'll rivet that and clean it up to get rid of my markers and flatten it out. But I've secured it at an interval along the window, and then I don't secure it above the window frame because the headpiece is going to go over that next. Okay, this is what a shot of what I do for at the top. What I have right here is some plastic shims that the silo radius you need to take up and try to keep this plane as flat as you can. Then what I'll do is I'll put backer rod. That's going to be hard to show on camera because it's kind of windy. I'll put some backer rod to fill up this corrugation, and then it'll get a heavy layer of caulk around here, and that ought to hold it secure and keep water from draining in and out. Wanted to give you a bird's eye view of what the top looks like. So I've caulked behind where you see those bolts at a tight or those self-tappers at a tight interval, and then there's the corner. It's got a little drip edge, and here's a view of the finished corner where I've pop riveted it in place, so it should be down, and yeah, one window finished. Under the top, it's backer rod and silicone caulk, and that's about what it looks like. I wanted to point out on the interior, the framing. So what I do is, you'll see these, they're joist hanger clips right there. And what I have done is those go up all wherever you have a penetration in the silo. And those keep the silo plumb with your framing members. So that's important. That keeps it somewhat rigid, but you can't put one every 2 inches. So they're spaced apart, they keep it rigid. That's an important aspect. And then on the interior, zipped all around, you know, zip tape all around to make the pan. And I haven't air sealed it yet. I'm going to use a product to seal between the window frame and the window, but that hasn't come in yet. So that's what it looks like kind of on the interior. Here's an example in the upper elevation of the silo house where the windows have not been put in place yet. I'll need to cut that metal. In the upper elevations, I need an extended boom lift, and I'll be able to install the windows and flash them. Notice that I don't have yet those the brackets that I use to hold the silo into the framework. When it comes time to put the window in, there's a little bit of gap and variation, and I'll need to add additional brackets and pull that plumb with the exterior of the silo and with the framework. So there's a lot of little considerations if you build a silo that you know, it's a process. So one step really adds builds upon the other in order for you to get a good, relatively nice looking project. In conclusion, I hope you enjoyed the video. This is how I did the windows. I thought long and hard about how to do it, and there wasn't a lot of information out there. The other side note on video production, I'm kind of new to this. I'm trying to work as much as I can by myself, and I hope you enjoyed the information that I presented, and that I hope to increase the quality of the video production as I go along. It's sort of secondary to me in building the house. That's my primary focus. We're going to address maybe the issues with the wind and a better microphone system in other videos, especially working alone. I also hope that after this there'll be a little segment of videos of what the house looks like on the outside. I have to put some additional windows in that I have to rent like a extended boom lift in order to do that, and I haven't done that yet because the weather's been so crappy this year. But I hope you have a nice day, and I hope you enjoyed my video, and support the channel, subscribe. I'm going to try real hard to get a video out every week. Have a good day. Take her easy.